Hey, everybody, and welcome to episode 1 of Take the Stage Opera Podcast. We are so grateful and excited to have superstar opera singer Jill Grove here with us today. She has had a super successful career, and having been around the block a time or two, she knows a lot of the frustrations that we as singers go through. We're going to be discussing some of the frustrations, especially as they relate to mental health today. So I hope that each of you are listening because we all need to take care of our mental health. Is everyone saying no to your singing career? Well, we here at Take the Stage Podcast say toi toi toi. Find out what is holding you back so you can stop waiting in the wings and go out and get your standing ovation. There are no forbidden topics here, so get your ticket and find your seat. In Boca Lupo! Yes, I am so excited to be visiting with such an expert opera singer and her experiences taking care of her health. In episode 2, we will be discussing how to build habits to create the life and career that you want. In episode 3, we'll be discussing finances and how taking care of your financial self can set you up for a healthier, happier career. Here at Take the Stage Opera Podcast, we never want to add more stress into your lives. You have enough going on. You're always trying to be perfect at everything, but we want to give you some actionable takeaways. And know that this is choose your own adventure. You get to take or leave whatever you need or you don't need right now in this moment. So come back in the future if it becomes more relevant. But we have a lot of great content to share. So with that, here is my co-host, Mariah Wilcox. How's it going, Mariah?
Hey. Well, I've definitely been in a better place health-wise. I'm currently quarantined. We have a corona scare in my apartment.
Oh.
I know.
How are you feeling?
I was sick this weekend, but I'm feeling much better today. I can actually breathe through my nose, which is nice.
Good.
So, anyway, I am so thrilled to be meeting with our guest Jill Grove today. Jill, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. I am not in quarantine, but I'm doing fine. Even though we're all sort of a little shelter in placey, aren't we?
Yes.
But I'm glad to hear you're feeling okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, scary times.
Jill, I have had the pleasure of getting to know you, but for our listeners, we would love to introduce you a little bit. Jill has consistently performed at the Houston Grand Opera, the Chicago Lyric, and the Metropolitan Opera over the last 20 years. She has won numerous awards, including winner of the Metropolitan Opera National Council auditions and the Richard Tucker Career Grant. She received her master's in vocal performance from Texas Tech. Go Raiders!
Go guns up!
And I can testify personally that she has a mentor's heart. I remember specifically when you came to a rehearsal. It was one of my first shows, Hänsel und Gretel. And we stopped after a scene and you noticed that I kept breaking the fourth wall and exclaiming towards the audience with my body. Mm-hmm. And you were so helpful. You always encouraged us. You never made us feel small. We didn't realize that we were in the presence of greatness, even though in fact we were. And I also remember when I wanted to put on my own project for opera students, and you supported and encouraged us every step of the way. So you're a great mentor, and we're excited to have you. Welcome.
Well, thank you so much. Yeah, it was so great to be at Texas Tech at that time and meet all of you, because I liked being in sort of a teacher-mentor place. And it really kind of, that time at Texas Tech kind of set me up for the next little chapter of my little second career that I tend to be having at the moment.
Oh, I'm so glad.
Totally crazy.
So we're going to be talking about mental health today and taking care of ourselves as we pursue a career, which is very, very important. And specifically working with a team that's going to support you and a mentor that's going to build you up as a human being. We're also going to talk about dealing with the stress of auditioning and performing. But first, Jill, can you tell us about working with a mentor, an agent, a coach, or a teacher, and how that affected your mental health?
Yeah, absolutely. Mental health is totally step one. If you are not in a good headspace and don't just a really clear idea of how you want to walk in the world and present in the world, but you're gonna bang your head against the wall. You're gonna be miserable because this business is somebody's opinion. That's all we do is try to. It's so arbitrary. It doesn't, you can work and work and work, but really at the end of the day, it's somebody's opinion when you go into audition. And so, having something outside of yourself, having something, even if it's just a plant, a plant or a cat or a dog, much less like a partner, husband, wife, children, family, anything that loves you just for the fact that you woke up that day and not because you sang a beautiful ah vowel or because you got this audition. Because it will still feel horrible when you audition. It's a horrible, horrible experience. But if you have something to come home to, that it makes it's huge. And it literally can just be people. It doesn't have to be a specific person. It can just you just have to be bigger than yourself.
So we need to have healthy, strong relationships.
Definitely. And you have to you have to be a little discerning and, realize why are you with a certain, if you're looking for an agent, what is the job of that agent or that manager? It's not to be your best friend. It's not to be your mother. It's not he's there or she's there to hopefully offer you career advice and manage and mentor your career.
So building positive relationships around us, obviously super important. And I think that's what we're hearing. But I'm also hearing that we need to be careful with some of the relationships that we have with mentors or coaches or teachers.
I think the voice teacher is the most dangerous and slippery slope of relationships for a young singer. Because, you go in, here's this person, you just sing and you work and you try and they dangle the answers out in front of you and they say if you breathe this way or move your muscles this way that this tone is going to come out. And a lot that can really set up a big, sort of pedestal of the teacher. And also from the teacher's perspective, that adoration feels great. And all of a sudden you have all these little people thinking you've just hung the moon, and the ego, all about ego, your ego can just run away with it.
Right. Can you give us an example of a healthy relationship or maybe an unhealthy relationship that you've had in your career?
Yes. I think I have a very healthy relationship with my teacher. I still have a voice teacher that I've studied with for 20 some odd years. And I go to her for her ears and for her kind of experience. All she does is listen to voices all day. And so I go there to see where I fit in the world of, all of that. But, she doesn't call me at night and say, did you eat your vegetables? She doesn't call me and tell me who to date. My teacher, Trish, has certainly said, you don't look good. Is everything okay? You look a little tired. Are you okay? But not, she just doesn't get up in my business. She doesn't coddle me. She's not my mother. She's not going to make sure I ate right. Or she's not going to call me and make sure that, I don't know, I got enough sleep before an audition. That's my job, and my mother's job, or that's my friend's job. That is not my teacher's job. Yeah. But because that teacher, that mentality is so kind of ingrained in us, and it's so maternal or paternal, depending on, gender of your teacher, that you want to please them above all else.
So we've talked about your teacher, Trish, and your great relationship with her. But on the flip side, what does kind of a bad relationship look like? Have you had an experience with that you'd be able to talk about?
It gets murky. I can name a few teachers that I have run across in New York that I personally didn't study with, but friends studied with, that, they they were just in their heads all the time. They bugged them about their weight, and they bugged them about what they look like, and they bugged them about just all the things that just does not need to be in the voice teacher purview, which is technique, ears, and kind of relevance, where you fit in the world.
They can kind of get like a savior complex of I
Absolutely.
can save not
I can
only your
save
voice,
you.
I can save you.
I can save you, and so many of them, when it's hard enough to be successful in a good normal place, but then you put somebody else's sort of expectations on top of that of, here you do this for me, or I have to sort of taking the credit of my good efforts always coming in. Well, I'm her teacher. I built that voice. I did that.
Wow, that's really important. So singing already hard enough, make sure that you're working with teachers who are not making it harder on you mentally by demeaning you or taking the credit, or just making it emotionally harder than it should be.
It just makes them big and you small. And any relationship that makes you small, just go away. Just, because there's a difference between like a healthy criticism and a healthy, like, you need to do this better. But I'm not going to lose any sleep over it.
So, Jill, you talked about how important it is to like find out what you want as a singer. How did you go about finding who you were and what you wanted from this career?
That's a great question, because you will hear everybody has an opinion about what they think your career should look like. Mm-hmm. And I was told for a long time that I should have a certain kind of career. And these are kind of the expectations that were put on me that, you should go to Europe. You should go to Europe, learn a language, lose a bunch of weight, and you need to sing Carmen. You need to sing Delilah. You need to sing these low, kind of really kind of ultra feminine, ultra kind of sensual creatures. And all because of the instrument that they thought that I had. But that reality did not in any way match who I was as a human being. I was, I couldn't have gone to Europe at 22. I was scared to death. I'd never been further than, 3 hours away from my home in college. And I could have never had the mental fortitude to go to Germany for a fest contract at 22. Oh my gosh. And so, I kind of came up through the American system, which, anybody that is from here understands that unless you go away, that's what makes you really special. All of a sudden you go to Europe and sing for a while, then all of a sudden you're special here. But if you stay here, you're not all that special. But I really, I was so fortunate really to have such good people in my life. And I was kind of, anytime I tried to do anything that I really wasn't meant to do, I was horrible at it. And I think that is something to listen to.
And did you ever try to follow their advice and try these things?
I tried to lose weight, and I tried to like be girly, and I tried to do all the things that I thought I was supposed to do. I had, my hair was long, and I had a perm, God help us. And, this was in the 80s, let's remember. And, I was horrible at it. I was just horrible. And so it did not fit. It didn't fit with who I was. I didn't want to be the star. I didn't want to be the ingenue of the show. I liked being the best friend. I liked being the maid. I liked being the witch. And that's what fit my personality, And so even though the people out in the world that have opinions about us, even though they might have thought that my particular instrument might be suited for a certain opera or a certain style of music or, some specific role, it's still mine. And if I can't put this voice into, say, a very feminine, bel canto, elegant persona. It's just not who I am. I'm a 50-year-old tomboy. I am just not, and so,
And we love you for it.
yeah, thank you. And I wish somebody would have told me at 22 that was going to be okay.
Wow.
That I would have saved so much money on therapy and like so many hours of worrying if somebody would have just said, girl, just go be you. Just go be you, you'll be great.
Yeah.
But that is not what is told out there. You have to be something else.
Wow.
You're never enough. It's always, okay, well, you're good, but you need to do this, whether it's,
Right.
I don't know, whatever it happens to be. It can be weight, it can be just how you dress, it could be how you speak, it could be anything. And, it's so detrimental because you can't fix it. You can't change it. I don't care. You can lose weight, but you're still going to be who you are.
Right.
Jill, you said something. I mean, one of the very first things that you said was mental health is number one.
It is.
And I mean, we probably think that our technique is number one and all these different things. But tell me what that looks like for you. You talked about having people around you, being who you are, but on a day-to-day, I just got tore down, I'm feeling down. What does it look like for you?
What does that look like? Thank you. Yeah, it looks like personal responsibility. I had to learn, I've been sober for 16 years, and what that meant for me was it wasn't anybody else's fault how I did in a day. If I didn't do the work, if I didn't know my role really well, or if it wasn't in my body, so I wasn't singing it particularly well, or I just wasn't as prepared as I should have been, that's not anybody's fault but mine. And so anytime I got myself into a situation where I was either being torn down by somebody or somebody was annoyed because I wasn't doing it well, 9 times out of 10, it really wasn't because that person was a jerk. It really was because I was not as prepared as I thought I could be. I thought I could fake it. I thought they wouldn't notice, whatever it happens to be. And the only way to, I've been in therapy also for years and years. And one of the things that she said was anxiety is the antithesis of preparation. If you're prepared, there's no reason to be anxious. It's just the anxiety of the unknown that is the fear.
Yeah.
Like an audition, because you don't know what it's going to look like and you don't know how it's going to feel or what they're going to be. But if you've put in the work, then you are that much closer to being prepared for whatever is thrown at you. You can be disappointed in yourself. You can, realize you should have worked harder, or that was just a sucky day, or that was just a bad performance, or I was in my head, but there's usually a reason. And I find knowledge is power. If you know why you messed up, or you know why you weren't comfortable in a situation, I can sleep a lot better than just thinking it's everybody else's fault. Oh, they hate me, I suck, I'm horrible. That is not going to help anyone, And if it's truly not your fault, then they're just having a bad day.
Okay, so I'm hearing, be honest with yourself. If it is your thing, take responsibility. And if it's not, then just let it slough off of you.
And just let it go. It's kind of like, who's got the problem?
Right.
If somebody's yelling at you, just, or not even yelling, but if they're sort of looking down at you or they're making you feel bad, that's their problem. As young singers, you don't have that kind of, clout, but you can kind of take a mental coffee break and just say, yes, sir, yes, ma'am. Sorry about that. I'll fix that. Move on. Because there is just too short of time in the world to get too wrapped up into messing with somebody else's opinion.
But, we're not a lone wolf. We all have some people whose opinions we do need to make sure that we're listening to.
And I think that's where the mentor and the teacher and the agent and the circle come in. You have to be so careful about who you allow their opinion to matter. Because you have to. We're not lone wolves. We can't hear ourselves right. We need the mirror. We need to see it back. But don't give that power to a person you just met, whether that's a conductor or another cast member or an audition panel. Go, record that audition, and then you have it, and you can say like, oh, I didn't suck. That wasn't as bad as I thought it was, because we can't hear ourselves because we have so many things buzzing in our heads. And then you bring a teacher or you bring a coach or a friend, somebody that you trust, and say, okay, can you watch this part and tell me what I'm doing wrong? Tell me how I could make it better. And that's all the things that you can do personally to make it, when you show up for a job for the first time or you show up to an audition, is that you're prepared. You have done all the work that you can possibly know how to do. Yeah. And then after that is just learning. Like after that's just life. If you did all the things you knew how to do, showed up at rehearsal, and learned something else that you didn't know you were supposed to know how to do, then you go, okay, note to self, I'll know how to do that next time. Don't beat yourself up because you didn't know how to do it. Like you didn't know that. So now you do.
That sounds like mental toughness.
It is. There is a whole little inner game of tennis. If anybody's read that book, I love that book. But it's all about your own, it's our reality. And so much, because we open ourselves up as singers and as artists, and we open this door to emotion and somebody else's emotion, and we are vulnerable, it leaves us wide open to get hurt. And so, one, you can't be afraid to be hurt, because that's the beauty of what we do. It's like, I have definitely been in situations where I have tried something or I've been really vulnerable and it hasn't come out very good, for whatever reason. And normally, now that I'm a little older, I can say these things to myself. But in the beginning, I had my mom who would say, well, I just love you anyway, Jilly. It just doesn't really matter. Well, they're just silly, and that was all I really needed to hear. And then it became a best friend, and then it became a teacher, and then it and now I can kind of tell myself like, okay, well, that was not the best I've ever done, but it's, not the worst I've ever done. So tomorrow's a new day, but really so much of it is just not letting it permeate who you are as a human being, your value as a human being, and your worth.
Yeah. So taking personal responsibility as self-care, that's interesting to me, because I think sometimes if you see like a meme on Facebook about self-care, it's like, eat ice cream and don't go to work today. I mean, self-care can look different. I don't mean to say what it is or is not, but I think that that's a little bit tougher to hear, that self-care is preparing in advance.
Yeah. That's the self-care. It's not, I have eaten a lot of ice cream over the years, and I have wallowed in my own patheticness, in a fetal position. I don't want to get up, but that is not mental fortitude. That's just pity. But for mental health, staying really true, true to yourself doesn't mean that you live in a vacuum. I can't just, whatever impulse crosses my mind, I can just go act on it. I have to live in a society, and I have to live in a bubble. I have to live with people. And so we're constantly sort of maneuvering our impulses as to what's efficient and healthy and happy and not hurtful, and what is our being. And it's a totally it's a tricky thing that I think isn't given a lot of time in like college at that age when they're learning to adult. For me, those years of adulting and kind of becoming your own belief system is when you really have to start understanding what self-care looks like for you individually. For some people it's exercise, or some people it's eating a certain diet or a certain way. Some people it's spirituality or meditation or yoga or some sort of, you know, spiritual thing. Um, for me, sobriety has been a huge touchstone. The 12 steps have been a huge touchstone in AA. But for me, it's all about sort of personal self responsibility as well as surrender. Kind of control what I can control, let go of the rest. And yeah, I mean, because there's so many times when you can't control certain things, especially in an audition. Auditions are hard. It's normally in a place you don't know. Sometimes with a pianist you don't know. Certainly in front of a company you probably don't know. And you have to walk in and adapt immediately. Whether it's too cold or too dry, or the room is dark, or the room is dead, or the room is really live, or the people are right here in front of you, or they're like 17 million feet away. The pianist is really great, or the pianist is totally not great. All these things, you can't control any of that. But you can control that I have worked so hard that I know that this is how I stand. This is how I breathe. This is how I prepare the onset of this note. This is the character I want to portray. This is the story I want to tell. And if you take all the time that you're using to worry about all the things you can't control and put all that worry into all the things you can control, it will make a huge, huge difference.
Yeah.
In your reality.
I could not have guessed how this conversation was going to go, Jill. And I love it because I try to have this message for myself of take care of yourself and be responsible for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea that's what you were going to say, but that really rings true to me.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Yeah, because it's just about, self-care doesn't mean you have to go easy on yourself. I think self-care means holding yourself to the standard you want to be held to. I just make sure that I am the person in the world that I want in the world. Does that make sense? If I need a little extra care or a little extra, like, you go girl, a little bit of you got this girl, something, I make sure I'm that person to someone. You be who you want, who you need. And that has yet to really let me down. If I'm feeling lonely, instead of sitting here, especially during COVID, which has been, hello, we all been quarantined, yes, either with our immediate families forever and ever and ever and ever and ever, or by ourselves, however it is. But instead of me sitting and saying, my friends never call me, I don't ever talk to anyone, nobody loves me, nobody likes me, nobody misses me. That's when I'm like, Jill, you need to turn that around, pick up the phone and call somebody, or call your friends, or check in with whoever, you find somebody to check in with, because somebody's thinking the same thing you are. And that will always, none of us have an original thought. We're all thinking the same thing, totally. Mm-hmm. And it just might change, the context might change a little bit, but we're all feeling scared. We're all feeling insecure. We're all feeling like fear of missing out. That's a huge one, especially with Facebook now, because we see all of the things like, oh, this person got this job, or this person's singing this. And it's like, well, they got the job and I suck. And that is so not true. It's a dangerous thing. And I too, at my age and at my level of career, I still will look at Facebook and be like, well, how come they hired her and not me? Why'd they call her and not me? When really I'm like, I don't want to do that anyway. I don't want to, I just wanted them to ask me. I don't really want to do a recital online. You know what I mean? I don't really want to do that, but I'm mad that they didn't call me, and that's just ego. And it's such a tricky thing, what we do.